every voice and sing, till earth and heaven ring, ring with the harmonies of liberty. Let our rejoicing rise high as the listening skies. Let it resound loud as the rolling sea. Sing a song full of the faith that the dark past has taught us. Sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought us. Facing the rising sun of our new day begun, let us march on till victory is won. Stony the road we trod, bitter the chastening rod, felt in the days when hope unborn had died. Yet with a steady lead have not our weary feet come to the place for which our fathers sighed. We have come over a way that with tears has been watered. We have come treading our path through the blood of the slaughtered. Out of the gloomy past, till now we stand at last, where the white gleam of our bright star is cast. This Monday we remember the man who gave his life for the cause of justice, Dr. Martin Luther King, Jr. As a key leader of the civil rights movement, he continues to inspire us with the example of his passionate commitment, his belief in nonviolence, and his vision that we shall overcome. Lift Every Voice and Sing was one of his favorite hymns, and that's why we're singing it right now in his honor. The weary years, God of our silent tears, thou who hast brought us thus far on the way, thou who hast by thy might led us into the light, keep us forever in the path we pray, lest our feet stray from the places, O God, where we met thee, lest our heart, drunk with the wine of the world, we forget thee. Shadowed beneath thy hand, may we forever stand, true to our God, true to our native land. Whoever you are, whomever you love, whatever path you are on, you are welcome here.
Determined seed, this sacred space holds our weariness, our worry, our laughter, and our celebration. Let us bring seed and soul into the light of thought, the warmth of community, and the hope of love. Let us see together, hear together, love together. Let us worship.
That's a chalice lighter. Give her a round of applause. Didn't she do great? Well, hey, West Shore, good morning. Welcome to you. Thanks for coming and joining us this morning. Best place to be on a Sunday morning in Cleveland. Maybe one of the warmer places to be on a Sunday morning in Cleveland. It's going to be an interesting week, isn't it? With that cold snap coming our way. So much good stuff happening in this congregation. I want to remind you to be sure to check out your West Shore Weekly. What a resource for ways to build friendships, ways to go deeper in your spirit, all sorts of opportunities available to you. Check this out. Be sure to take a look at the service information for next week. It'll be a different kind of service, so check out more about that. Resistance Fair 2025, insert in your order of service. Take a look at that. That's wonderful. Something else I wanted to be sure to bring your attention to, and that is a new segment in our order of service, a new segment in this, but not new for us as a congregation. Open the page, and you'll see our congregational covenant. So we are a congregation with a covenant that talks about what our expectations are for each other so this can be a beloved community. And we're going to be featuring that in our order of service from now on. So be sure to take a look at that. It's about this space being beloved, safe, loving, respectful, and we're committed to that. So just wanted to be sure you saw that in our order of service. Now I want to invite up here just very briefly Kelly Galligan, our board president. She's going to make an announcement about something happening after services today.
Good morning. Reverend Makar and I would like to remind everyone that after the service today, we have a congregational conversation about signage on the front of the building. We want to hear from you about the signage. How do you feel when you pull up to church and you see the signs? Are you proud that signs like the Black Lives Matter banner and the marriage equality banner inspire conversation both within the congregation and in the larger community? Or does it make you a little bit anxious? Are there other signs you'd like to see? Do you wonder if Rocky River has ordinances we need to follow or be aware of when we talk about signage out front? Should the banners be changed regularly? We will review the signage policy the board adopted last year and talk about why it was adopted. What was the genesis of the need for the policy? Please join us for this important conversation about signage that impacts the life of the church.
Thank you, Kelly. If you are here, absolutely, yes. If you are here for the first or second time and you do not mind other folks knowing about that, raise your arm so we can welcome you. And you know what? If you're an introvert like me and you would never be caught dead doing this, well, we welcome you too. We're grateful for everyone being here this morning. We're going to go into our greeting time right now, so let's do that right now. And at the sound of the bowl, we will return to the worship service. So here we go.
Everybody knew the roof was leaking, but the church kept putting off replacing it. Finally, some areas of the ceiling in the sanctuary began to sag. The church called a congregational meeting. A wealthy member rose and pledged $300 toward fixing the roof. Just then, a small piece of the ceiling fell and hit him on the head. Somebody in the back of the church said, "Hit him again, Lord." As Unitarian Universalists, we are all over the map regarding theology, so we can't rely on anything supernatural to encourage people's generosity. All we ask is that people remember that as a free religious faith, it's up to us to pay all our bills and to support the ministries we're proud to say make a big difference in our community. Please consider a gift of money today to help us do that, and consider making an annual pledge to our community if you haven't done so already. The offering will now be given and gratefully received. Thank you. A reading from an article by Rich Heffern. Did you know the words human, humor, and humility all have the same Indo-European root, gom, spelled G-H-O-M, best translated by the English word humus. Humus is key to any ecological system, whether it be forest, grassland, or glade, and it's vital to any garden. The best garden humus, of course, is a combination of rotting vegetable matter, kitchen scraps, autumn leaves, grass clippings. Mixed together and left to rot, the humus pile becomes a rich, fertile soil in which to grow vegetables. I garden every year and tend my humus or compost pile carefully. Daily I add to it, and every other week turn it and wet it so that the microorganisms can do their work effectively, breaking the organic matter down into a rich, loamy, aromatic substance that when added to the garden works miracles. One can readily see the connection between humility and humus. What could be more humble than a pile of rotting organic matter, destined to push up carrots, and radishes, and corn? Yet nothing is more helpful to growth. Humus is fecund. It's willing to serve. It's a kind of earthly parable for life. When living matter ends its service, it dies into the compost pile and gives birth to new life. Earth swallows us up, but at the same time, it is a womb, a place where birth, renaissance, and resurrection all occur. Our human adventure is similar to the saga of humus. Humor is the reminder that we are human, that humans share qualities that range from nobility and altruism at one extreme to avarice, selfishness, and cowardice on the other. Humor is, more often than not, a realignment with the force of life that laughs at our meager attempts to impose our own order on things. Humor reminds us all that, as humans, we share at the core the same frailties and vulnerabilities. Humor often thumps us on the head with the message that we are not in control. Humor constantly reminds us of our humanity and of the creative and spiritual potential within. There is, in fact, writes Jungian analyst Helen Luke, no real spirituality without the laughter which a sense of humor brings. Humor helps us literally to revel in our humanness. Here ends the reading.
Let us now join together for our beautiful community ritual of for all that is our lives. You know, with reverence, I experience the stream of people who come forward to place a stone, and the intensity of your faces. And some folks, they squeeze the stone. Some folks, they hold it to their hearts. It's all just to say that we do bring our joys and our sorrows to this place, this beloved community, this space of acceptance. We bring them. I bring mine. And I want to say this morning that one of the members of our beloved community, Bernie Anderson, passed away yesterday. And so we are sending our condolences and love to his family. He was one of the last surviving members of the Faller extended family here at West Shore. And so we're mindful of Dorothy Faller and the folks who belong to that extended family. And we are remembered in this space. That is one of the meanings of membership, of participation in a church, that your life will be enriched by your participation in this space, and you will be remembered as a beloved ancestor upon your death. That's what it means to be a part of a church community. Thank you for bringing your hearts to this space this morning. I will take the cards into my meditations this week and pray for all that is our life. So since its founding in 1970, the French magazine called Charlie Hebdo has been a vocal advocate for free expression and liberation from forms of power that demand unquestioning, unthinking obedience. It's been the target of 3 terrorist attacks. The one in 2015 led to the death of 12 people, including the man whose picture you just saw. Witnesses said that they heard the gunman calling out the names of the journalists who dared portray the founder of Islam in irreverent ways. How dare they inject humor into the most serious of all sacred matters. During the hail of gunfire, the terrorists shouted in Arabic, "We avenge the Prophet Muhammad," and they said, "God is great." Now, such moments loom large in people's imagination. For some, such instances serve as summaries of the entirety of Islam, which is about as fair as to say that a KKK rally would sum up everything there is to know about Christianity. So it comes as a balm, it comes as medicine, to be introduced to something far lesser known about Islam, yet far more representative of the maturity and the humanity of that faith. And I am speaking of the figure of Mulla Nasruddin, Islam's greatest trickster figure. He is a village simpleton and sage, all rolled up into one. He never hesitates to commit the very same atrocities that got the Charlie Hebdo writers killed. He never hesitates. Mulla Nasruddin. The earliest written accounts go as far back as the 13th century. He is shown as wearing a turban, which is the traditional sign of a person of learning. But the fact of the matter is he has no formal education at all. He's a yokel. He is a simpleton. In one story, his donkey is rushing through the marketplace with him on top, but seated backwards. When the townsfolk greet him, he replies to them hastily, sorry, can't stop to talk. I'm looking for my donkey." He is a holy fool. He is a holy fool. Everywhere there is Islam, there is Nasruddin. In the Albanian language, in Arabic, Armenian, Berber, Bosnian, Bulgarian, Chinese, Dagestani, Greek, Judeo-Arabic, Kurdish, Maltese, Mandaic, Macedonian, Persian, Serbian, Sicilian, Syrian, Tajik, Turkish, Uyghur, Uzbek, in all of these languages and more, we find tales of his outrageous silliness. We laugh and we laugh, and this laughter opens up a holy space in our hearts. And into that space, Nasruddin slips a piece of wisdom, and that piece of wisdom helps us wake up. You just don't have to be Muslim to benefit from this medicine. What is this precious love and laughter budding in our hearts, says the Sufi poet Hafiz. Listen, it is the glorious sound of a soul waking up. The glorious sound of a soul waking up. So it comes as no surprise that Nasruddin was the main character in another satirical magazine called simply Mulla Nasruddin, published in Azerbaijan from 1906 to 1931. Wikipedia reports that this magazine addressed corruption and inequality and quote, ridiculed the backward lifestyles and values of clergy and religious fanatics, implicitly calling upon the readers to modernize. The magazine was frequently banned, but has had a lasting influence on Azerbaijani and Iranian literature. So it's Charlie Hebdo before Charlie Hebdo. From out of the very heart of Islamic culture comes a wisdom that wants to heal that very same culture and all cultures of their excesses and the evils. And it wants to heal every culture in the same way. Wisdom that takes the form of a turbaned man riding a donkey backward. And this guy pulls no punches. Listen. The Mulla lay gravely ill, surrounded by family, friends, and his wailing wife. The doctor arrived, and a hush came over the room as he examined the Mulla. After quite some time, the doctor turned to the Mulla's wife and declared, "O honorable wife of the Mulla, only Allah is immortal. It is with deep sorrow that I have to inform you that your husband has passed away. He is dead. His soul has flown to the bosom of God." And as the doctor continued his eloquent remarks, the Mullah feebly protested, "No, wait, I'm alive. "Quiet," retorted his wife. "The doctor is speaking. Don't argue with the doctor." Yeah. That's holy laughter right there. You know, it's Monty Python and the Holy Grail, right? Before Monty Python and the Holy Grail. Isn't that great? Listen again. Listen to another story. Nasruddin was walking in the bazaar with a large group of followers. Whatever Nasruddin did, his followers immediately copied. Every few steps, Nasruddin would stop and shake his hands in the air, touch his feet, and jump up, yelling, "Hoo, hoo, hoo." How does it go? "Hoo, hoo, 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 hoo," or something like that. That's what he'd do. So his followers would do exactly the same. They would do exactly what he did. Now, one of the merchants who knew Nasruddin quietly asked him, "What are you doing, my old friend? Why are these people imitating you?" "I have become a Sufi sheikh," replied Nasruddin. "These are my students. I am helping them reach enlightenment." Well, the friend said, "Well, how will you know when they reach enlightenment?" And Nasruddin replies, "Well, that's the easy part. Every morning I count them. The ones who have left, they have reached enlightenment." Yeah, no punches are pulled in these Nasruddin tales. In both stories, blind faith is lampooned, whether in faith in doctors, or faith in spiritual leaders, whatever else enlightenment may be. It is freedom from slavish dependence on the experts. It is coming to realize that true wisdom, to be true, can't be borrowed. It has to be earned. It has to emerge out of one's own heart and mind. It has to be earned and authentic. He's a Unitarian Universalist. And all of this suggests an even larger truth, that the enormous power religious communities wield can be co-opted to serve unworthy ends. As I say that, is that at all surprising? Distorted, stolen to serve unworthy ends. Thieves can break in and steal, okay? And so, another story has Nasruddin noticing the devil sitting down, looking confident and relaxed. "Why are you just sitting there making no mischief?" the Mullah asked him. And the devil replied, "Well, since the clerics, the theoreticians, and would-be teachers of the religious paths have appeared in such numbers, there is nothing left for me to do." Yeah. As a clergy person, I endorse that. I mean, this is blasphemy, equal to what the Charlie Hebdo cartoonist committed. Do you see that? This is blasphemy. But thankfully, you can't kill stories. In every Muslim nation and all around the world, the Mulla Nasruddin is unstoppable, a force for spiritual freedom that we Unitarian Universalists can appreciate. He represents the loyal opposition to religious institutions everywhere. And while institutions do play a critical role in transmitting wisdom from age to age, they do. They play a critical role in shaping people's character. We just can't lose sight of that. That is just the way it is. Still, all institutions are imperfect. They can lose track. The pristine message of the founders, like Muhammad, or Jesus, or Buddha, or Ralph Waldo Emerson, that pristine message can be degraded. Constant reform is needed. That's actually how Unitarian Universalism was born, out of the fires of the felt need for reform. That's where we come from. One day a student came to the mullah and said, "I have heard that there are secret words that, when repeated, open the gates of enlightenment, accelerate our ability to find contentment in life, connect us to divine mysteries, these secret words. I have heard about these secret words." And the mullah responded, "Absolutely true. You may start your special secret lessons tomorrow, and you will be joined by a student who is at a similar level of attainment." Well, the next day the student arrived with eager anticipation and found the mullah teaching the mystical secret words to a parrot. I got to recover from that one. I mean, that's great, right? You know, we all want a silver bullet solution, don't we? We all want a silver bullet solution. We all want a silver bullet theology that gives a person a spiritual identity that is always clear and never changes and never experiences dark nights of the soul and ups and downs. We all want that. Defends against every anxiety. A silver bullet spiritual technique that protects a person from making mistakes and racking up regrets. Silver bullet church strategies, guaranteed to result in governance without tears, leadership development without bumps, conflict management without pain, numerical growth in the pews, and having enough money in the budget to pay for all our needs without ever having to ask people to pledge generously. That is when the mullah says to us, "Absolutely true. You may start your special secret lessons tomorrow, and we'll be joined by a student who is at a similar level of attainment." I chose that picture because it feels like that parrot is looking at me. Maybe I'm paranoid or something. And he's looking at you guys too. He's looking at you. He's looking at you. When an institution promises to deliver a silver bullet strategy, you can bet that its focus is to create parrots, not people. And I call that a degraded spiritual mission. You just can't be both parrot and spiritually free. Now, besides loyal opposition to religions and religious institutions, Nasruddin's stories address other aspects of spiritual freedom. Islamic teacher Imam Jamal Rahman, in his book Sacred Laughter of the Sufis, helps us understand what these are. He identifies them as a common thread of Sufi teachings. And if you have heard me preach for a while now, you will see that these are a common thread in my sermons also. Number one, every human has a divine spark veiled by the layers of personality. Whether we call it Allah, Jesus, Elohim, Krishna, or any other name, that spark is the same. And we are foolish not to realize our astounding potentials. Number one. Number two, an essential spiritual practice is to observe and witness oneself continuously and compassionately, acknowledging and laughing at foibles and weaknesses while working relentlessly to evolve into higher consciousness. And then number three, the light of persistent awareness is bound, little by little, to dissolve our false self, those layers of personality, false self, and bring us closer to our authentic self. Now, as Unitarian Universalists, we speak of the free and responsible search for truth and meaning, and we can bring a distinctively Sufi understanding to this. We call it a search and not an automatic accomplishment because it takes time and trial and error and lots of help from others and lots of compassion to dissolve the ego patterns that keep us bound, bogged down. Love is already at our core, but there are walls that have been built that make it hard to feel that love, that make that love feel like it's a million miles away. Thus the search, thus the need for the persistent light of awareness, which dissolves the false self, those borders, boundaries, barriers. And so enter Mulla Nasruddin, the holy fool. Lots of his stories shed light on this false self. In one of these stories, we meet the mullah as a court advisor. One day, he encountered the royal falcon for the very first time. He thought to himself, what an odd-looking pigeon. Wanting to be of service, he trimmed the claws, he trimmed the beak, he trimmed the wings of that royal falcon until, crowing with satisfaction, he declared, finally, you look like a decent pigeon. Obviously, your keeper was neglecting you. In another story, the mullah went with a friend on his pilgrimage to Mecca. People from every corner of the world would go on pilgrimage each year, and all of them clothed in plain white robes. So the mullah tied a conspicuous eggplant around his waist so that his friend would recognize him if they got separated. One evening after the mullah had fallen asleep, a trickster untied that eggplant and fastened it around his own waist. When the mullah awoke in the morning, he was confused. He saw the man with the eggplant and said, I know who you are, but then who am I? I will explain them all in a moment. Okay, so if you're like, what does that mean? And yet a third story. The mullah happens to be working in a factory. The president of that factory called a meeting and told all of the employees that starting next month, the factory would be completely automated. There were gasps of disbelief, and people shouted, well, how will we feed our families? Please don't be alarmed, the president said. All of you have been loyal employees. You will no longer work here, but I've got some fantastic news for you. Because of our increased profits, you will be paid as usual with annual increments. You will continue to enjoy the subsidized cafeteria and sports facilities. All you have to do is come in on Friday to pick up your pay. That's all you got to do. There were sighs of relief, and there were tears of joy. There was much laughter. And then the mullah raised his hand and asked, that's great, but not every Friday, right? These stories help us to wake up to the silliness of our egos, those barriers that make it so hard to feel the love that is at the core of ourselves. Our egos always feel entitled to more. That's the lesson of this last story. And around the corner of this is always a sense of grievance because we don't think we're getting the respect that we are owed. A person becomes positively filled with angers. Social media is like an echo chamber of angers. And in the end, there is no room for what is better, for what is truer. Gratitude for what a person actually does have. And the peace that really actually can be possible if one stops feeding the fires of ego. I want you to go back to that story about the eggplant. Okay? In it, the mullah establishes his identity through something external to him. Right? An eggplant. But he equally could have done that by pointing to the kind of car he drives, or the career that he has, or how his body looks, or the size of his paycheck. He could also have said and done certain correct things, which are supposed to prove his piety, which these days goes by the name of virtue signaling. We do this sort of thing all the time. Base our value on externals and not on a divine spark within, which is what truly gives us the peace that passes all understanding. It's just all false self stuff. Eggplants and everything else, right? That's like an eggplant. See, this is what makes the free and responsible search such a long and winding road. False self. Same thing with the story about the falcon. Like the mullah, we all know pigeons. In fact, if that is all we know, if all we know is pigeons, well, guess what happens when we meet a royal falcon? Guess what happens then? Either as another person or as an energy within us, a part of our very own selves. If all we know is a pigeon, then we're going to treat every royal falcon out there or coming from within us as a pigeon too. We will deny their greatness. And so we will always stay mediocre. The situation always stays mediocre. Just yesterday, a friend confessed that, like me, she is terrible at remembering song lyrics. Remember that old Bangles classic, Walk Like an Egyptian? Some of you do. It has a line that goes, all the school kids so sick of books they like the punk and the metal band. That's what that line goes. But in my friend's mind, those lyrics had become all the cool kids so sick of books they like the funk and the Indian. It had become that, and it had stayed that for years and years, like a broken record, until she actually checked the actual song and realized that there is no funk in the Indian involved in walking like an Egyptian. That was true of me too, right? I'm just totally terrible with song lyrics. But it's just like the false self. The false self is an old record. It is a tired groove. The words are all wrong, but we repeat them ad infinitum. But laughter is the sound of what? A glorious soul growing up, right? Laughter is the sound of a glorious soul growing up. Sunlight exists underneath, a spiritual sunlight exists underneath this skin, this little light of mine. I'm going to what? Let it shine. But only as the false self patterns are dissolved. It is said that the mullah complained every day at lunch that he was sick and tired of cheese sandwiches. Every day, his co-workers had to hear him go on and on about cheese sandwiches. And finally, one of them offered him some advice. He said, Mullah, tell your wife to make something different. Be persuasive with her. But I'm not married. Well, then who makes your lunch? The mullah replied, I do. What are your cheese sandwich patterns? What are your cheese sandwich patterns? What are the cheese sandwich patterns of your family? What are the cheese sandwich patterns of your workplace? What are the cheese sandwich patterns of this congregation? These are all great questions. False self stuff. We've got to shine the light of persistent awareness, dissolve the false self systems. Mulla Nasruddin comes to us on his donkey backwards. He wears a turban that indicates he is learned, but he has no formal education at all. Mulla Nasruddin is a holy fool who comes into our midst, and he makes us laugh. And we need that laughter. The world is so serious. The spiritual venture can be so serious at times. There are so many circular firing squads we find ourselves in. And we just need something to dispel all of that deadly, serious, ego-based, false self-energy that only binds us even further to the deadliness. Do you know that Sufis are regularly accused by conservative Muslims of being overly flexible, much as Unitarian Universalists might be regularly accused of the same by conservative Christians? But the Sufis smilingly reply, "Blessed are the flexible, for they will never be bent out of shape." Come say with me, "Blessed are the flexible." Oh, no, one at a time. So just follow my lead. Blessed are the flexible, for they will never be bent out of shape. It is said that laughter is the best medicine. It is said that the person and the community that laughs lasts. Mulla Nasruddin, come and give us a blessing today. Amen. Let us now sing our closing hymn together. Life is the greatest gift of all the riches on this earth. Life and its creatures, great and small, of high and lowly birth. So treasure it and measure it with deeds of shining worth. Mind is the brightest gift of all, its thought no barrier mars. It seeks creation's hidden plan, its quest surmounts all bars. It rains the wind, it chains the storm, it weighs the outmost stars. We are of life, its shining gift, the measure of all things. Up from the dust our temples lift, our vision soars on wings. For seed and root, for flower and fruit, our grateful spirit sings. Just like the song said, we are of life, its shining gift, the light that comes from within. May your light shine forth despite all that may cover it up. May your light shine forth in laughter, in joy, in kindness, in works of justice and love. So may it be. Let's extinguish our chalice. Say the words together. Carol, would you mind? We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry with us until we meet again. They laughed so hard when you did your